Okay, imagine this. You're living 8,000 years ago. No phones, no computers, not even a piece of paper and a pencil. In fact, writing hasn't even been invented yet. So how in the world did people solve problems? That is the amazing mystery we are diving into today.
So think about it. If you can't write down 2 plus 2 equals 4, how do you figure out anything complicated? For a really long time, scientists were pretty sure that complex math was just impossible back then. But, well, it turns out they were wrong.
You see, researchers recently found a clue, a kind of secret code hidden in a place you would never ever expect. It wasn't carved on a giant stone tablet or painted on a cave wall. Nope, the clue was right there, painted on a simple soup bowl.
To really understand this secret, we've got to jump in our time machine. We're going to go way, way back to meet the incredible people who made these bowls in the first place. Okay, so we're going back 8,000 years. Now, to give you an idea of how long ago that is, this is 3,000 years before the very first writing system, called cuneiform, was even invented. That is a long time ago. Our story takes place in a region called Mesopotamia, which is in the Middle East. You know, historians have this awesome nickname for it, the cradle of civilization, because just so many important ideas got their start right here.
The people who lived here were called the Halafians, and they were some of the very first farmers, living together in villages and growing grain. But this created a really big problem for them. How do you share everything, like your food or your land, fairly with everyone else in the village?
And you gotta remember, they couldn't just make a list and write down who gets what. That first writing system, cuneiform, where they pressed little shapes into wet clay, was still thousands of years in the future.
So, what would you do? I'm serious. If you couldn't make a list, how would you remember important numbers? It's a tough one, right? Well, let's see what the Halafanians came up with.
It turns out their solution was not just super clever, it was also really, really beautiful.
They painted the answers right on their pottery. Yeah, and these weren't just some boring, plain bowls. They were covered in bright, colorful decorations. And hidden in those decorations, scientists noticed a very, very specific pattern that kept showing up. These flower designs they painted weren't random at all. They followed a very strict rule. You see, some bowls had flowers with 4 petals. Then on other bowls, those petals would be split to make 8. And on other bowls, you'd find 16 petals. And then 32. They even found some with tiny little flowers that had 64 petals.
Take a close look at those numbers. 4, then 8, then 16, then 32. Do you see what's happening? What's the rule? If you're thinking, hey, it's doubling every time, you are absolutely right.
Okay, so we've got a doubling pattern. But what does it all mean? It's time to crack this ancient code.
Now, there's a fancy math name for this. It's called a geometric progression. But all that really means is you're multiplying a number by the same amount over and over again. And in this case, that magic number was 2. And here is where things get really wild. Believe it or not, this connects directly to us today. This is the same basic idea behind binary code. You know, the language of ones and zeros that runs every single one of our computers. And the Halafians were using this idea 3,000 years before writing was even a thing. This discovery was a total shock. It completely changed how we think about these ancient people. It suggests that these farmers were, as one scientist put it, hidden mathematicians. So how might they have used this? Well, just imagine you're in the village and you have a huge harvest of grain that you need to divide fairly between 16 different families. You wouldn't need a calculator. You could just grab the bowl with the 16-petal flower on it to help you visualize exactly how to split it all up perfectly. Now, here's the thing about ancient history. We can't be 100% sure because we weren't there, and that's where a really fun scientific debate gets started. First, let's look at a fact that everyone agrees on. Pottery with this exact doubling pattern has been found at 29 different ancient sites. 29! So this wasn't just one artist doodling. This pattern was everywhere. The real question is, why? And there are 2 main theories. On one hand, you have theory number 1. It was a math tool, a kind of cheat code to help with really important stuff like farming, building, or trading. On the other hand, you have theory number 2. It was just beautiful art. I mean, artists love patterns and symmetry, and if you keep dividing a circle in half, you get 4, 8, and 16. Or maybe they were important religious symbols. So now I gotta ask you, what do you think? Which side are you on?
Was this a practical math tool they needed to survive, or was it just really beautiful art with a special meaning? Either way, it's completely changed how we see our ancient ancestors. All right, let's zoom out for a second. We're talking about patterns on some really old bowls. So why should we care about this today? Why does this ancient code matter?
So let's wrap this all up. We learned that the Halafian people used this amazing doubling flower pattern on their bowls thousands of years before anyone even knew how to write. And whether it was a real-life math tool or just beautiful art, it proves one absolutely incredible thing. Humans have always been super smart, finding clever ways to understand and organize their world.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. If these ancient people were hiding math codes on their cereal bowls, what other incredible secrets and hidden messages are still out there, just waiting for us to find them in the art of other cultures all around the world?